In this video, we will discuss using balanced assessment systems to improve student learning. For a deeper exploration on this topic, check out the Chief Councils of State School Officers 2010 article by Brian Gong. Let's start with something that may look familiar to you. Here's a generic lesson plan. We will use this example, which is a concept most instructors are familiar with, to begin our conversation. I have chosen this generic lesson template to illustrate how assessment, curriculum, and instruction are inseparable. First, let's define standards, curriculum, and assessment. As we learned earlier in this module, standards are what students should know and be able to do. Curriculum is the instructional strategies and resources teachers use to ensure students are making progress towards the knowledge and skills they are expected to learn as they progress through their K-12 education. Assessment is the process of gathering or measuring information, and in this case, what information confirms what your students know and are able to do. Let's glance at number 1, the objectives and the learning goals or targets. Typically, most lessons are aligned to the standards. Another term for this is standards-based instruction. If you are unfamiliar with the term standards-based instruction, it is simply instruction, assessment, grading, and academic reporting that is based on students demonstrating their understanding of the knowledge and skills they are expected to learn as they progress through their K-12 education. In this case, the Next Generation Science Standards, or Montana's Performance Standards. This shows student actions, which are ways for teachers to elicit evidence of student learning, for instance, observations of student conversations and activities the student will know and be able to do. It is important that student learning is measurable, as defined in our lesson objectives, thus knowing ways in which to collect evidence of student learning. This provides teachers with the opportunity to describe some evidence of learning. For example, as you teach, how do you know that students mastered the objectives of the lesson? In this section, here are the ways the teacher will collect the information to inform his or her effectiveness. This could be gathered in a formative way. It could be gathered at the end of the unit, or in an interim way, or it could be gathered at the end of the semester or year in a summative way. So what is effective practice? Effective practice, according to one source, involves 6 characteristics. First, dedicate enough time to practice. Most things worth learning cannot be learned with one exposure or in a few minutes. Many skills require long periods of practice over many years. Practice the right things, and often what one student needs to work on will be different from what another student needs. Work until the desired level of mastery is reached. That may involve fluency, as well as accuracy, as well as flexibility. Formative assessment should inform work in the zone of proximal development that allows reasonable work to mastery, with goals set repeatedly. Practice is informed and adjusted according to assessment feedback, and vice versa. Assessment, instruction, and feedback should engage students and build their confidence. Certainly, student affect is recognized as important in contributing to student learning and student self-assessment. Practice should include review to consolidate knowledge and skills. Consolidation should be incorporated into assessment, practice, and instruction over varying time spans, depending on the knowledge and skills of the learning goal. Standards are the learning goals, or what students should know and be able to do. But what about assessment? Assessment is a process for eliciting evidence of that achievement from the learner. The outcomes or data from the process can be used to immediately inform and alter instructional process while actually engaged in the learning, as with formative assessment, to help monitor or gauge the progress of learning, and perhaps predict success with the interim assessment, or to sum up the learning at the end of the instructional unit, as with summative assessment. The test or other measures used in eliciting evidence can range from simple teacher observation of classroom behavior to formal, large-scale tests that are highly complex, sophisticated, and psychometrically sound, but offer little help to the teacher or learner because of their separation and distance from the learning process. With this understanding of what assessments are, what about how they are developed? With adoption of the Common Core standards, many states opted in for the Smarter Balanced Assessment, which is based off of the Common Core state standards. These Common Core state standards provided the content of the Smarter Balanced content specifications and consequently the expectations found in the 4.Balanced item and task specifications. At this time, there is no consortium that has come forward with a summative assessment for the next generation science standards. This illustration shows a high-level overview of test and item development. Evidence-based design is used to make the claims about what cognitive abilities can be assessed and provides an approach to what student learning claims can be made on the assessment. Content specifications are used to define the assessment targets based on the standards. Test specifications are written to ensure the items, distribution of items, the cognitive rigor, and the overall balance of the assessment is attended to. Lastly, item specifications illustrate and guide item writers in the claims and targets that will be measured. In summary, each item makes a claim derived from the content specifications specifically related to the standards.